All right, everyone, how are we getting on? It's Wednesday morning. Just double check to make sure it is Wednesday. It's been that kind of week. Yeah, we are the Celtic Way. This is the morning briefing with me, Hamish, and just like the last couple of days, Tony and Joe are on as well. And we've signed a player, guys. I think 32 days it took from the transfer window opening. So let's hope it's not another 32 before we sign our next player. But we can tick off one. It happened in a kind of strange way as well, because I think we all knew he was coming in. Viljami Sinizalo, that is. We spoke about him yesterday. He was even photographed getting on I think it was the bus on the way to the airport or whatever. And then he was announced by the club last night. So he's in the door, Tony. We have a goalkeeper. We're expecting another one in possibly today, probably tomorrow as well.
Yeah, and in terms of detective work, he didn't need to be, Hercule Poirot to work that one out, as he's photographed for the Celtic gear going down the steps, heading on to a plane. Oh, I wonder where he's going, So just a question of when Celtic would release that, but they released it late last night. I think that's right, Joe, wasn't it? It came on the website later on that night. So yeah, Sinizalo's in. We're expecting Hart, of course, but I think the big talking point yesterday was Adam Ida with his cryptic Instagram post. Yeah.
He's at it, that guy.
He is at it, and on his Instagram, he's still got a picture of him in the Celtic jersey, if indeed that is Adam Ida's official Instagram account. So lots of people, it was great. It was just like people were tracking all sorts of planes, weren't they? It was hilarious, He's in Belgium, he's in Norwich, he's in Glasgow, he's in Washington DC. It was hilarious. So, it'll happen when it happens. So I just, but I don't think Adam Ida helped matters any, did he? By just dropping that cryptic bomb in there and just saying, "Okay, fight amongst yourselves." So
at least we've not lost the plot, Joe. I saw someone tweeting about being on Flight Radar, the app, and seeing that there was a private jet leaving Norwich at 10:30, arriving into Glasgow at 11:30 or something like that. And I'm thinking, maybe we just need to chill a little bit. I don't know.
I've not seen so many images of the flight tracker, but it's got the yellow line going between Norwich and, as you say, Tony, every city, Glasgow or across the Atlantic as well. It's one of those ones. Like, I know we spoke this week so far about the patience of it all. It is. I understand the excitement, especially when it's been so, I'll say, quiet, dormant until something kicks off. Assuming that we get to the end of the window and all these deals are over the line, without getting too excited too early. This bit's great. Assuming they come in, assuming it is all heading in the right direction, and it's good. It's good fun. Assuming that these guys come to the door, and with all this, the players know what they're doing with their cryptic tweets or their cryptic Instagram posts, and the SNS photo that appeared of Sinizalo yesterday, and it felt like a matter of time. And then the club put out on their social media in Finnish with the translate saying you might have seen this photo before, which is quite clever. So it's nice when things are a bit self-referential as well, kind of tapping into the excitement of the fans.
Yeah, so he's in the door. I think just in the Adam Ida stuff. All joking aside, he is at it. Like I think he was going away to Austria with Norwich. I think that's what people have kind of discovered. But I read Austria. Right. Could be Belgium. I don't. To be honest, in the nicest possible way, Tony, I don't really care about Norwich. Just let them do whatever they want. But what happened to the Norwich Celtic family? Hey, remember that 10, 15 years ago? That kind of went a bit quiet. He's at it. He knows what he's doing, and it just fills me with a lot of confidence that he'll be heading eventually to Celtic. Whether he'll be in the States or not, I'd certainly hope so. If not, I think he'll be back in time for the opening competitive game of the season. You're all very kind of quiet today. The comments are coming in a bit now, but I was getting worried for a minute there, Tony, because it got to 7:04, and unless my kind of chat is broken here, it was only McLaughlin P who had messaged or commented at 4 minutes into the stream, well, probably a couple of minutes into the stream, because we were slightly late, but they're coming in their droves now, as they always do. And we've got loads to chat about. Just first of all, Let's just take a quick moment for a word from our sponsor. If you're looking for a winning heating solution for your home, MPH Boilers is your go-to team. They're an award-winning family-run business serving all of mainland Scotland. They bring the best in boiler installations and servicing. As you know, they've partnered with Weissman as well, who are known for their top-notch German engineered boilers. So check them out, www.mphboilers.co.uk. Right, do you want to start with Sinizalo then, guys? He's I think it was Hazel, I think, who was saying she's already quite impressed with his interview and thinks we have a winner there. He's probably not arriving to be a number one straight away, but I agree. I was quite impressed with how he came across. 22 years old, Joe, and he seems like he's, got a good kind of head on his shoulders, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, and without sounding like a million years old, I'm always quite impressed when the younger guys come through and seem quite mature, quite confident, quite certain about themselves. Because at 22, I could not have been so confident, especially when I'm speaking in it, which isn't my primary language. But no, it bodes well. It bodes well when you see the guys come through. I know that they're obviously trying to impress as well, and so much of modern football is dictated by your image, especially in those first impression moments. But it's all we can really go on at the moment. You know, like we mentioned yesterday, we've seen a lot of highlight reels. We saw the wonderful save that he made against Scotland. I watched that a few times last night just to be self-indulgent, and it gets better every time. It is only one save, but it's early. I'm glad that he's travelled with the team, not just about going over there and it being a little bit daunting. But it's good that he's got in right from the ground floor in terms of this America trip. It's interesting that we're chasing people like Paulo Bernardo and Adam Ida, and it'd be great for them to, if they're coming, if it's all to be believed at this stage, that they get over there with the team in America. But it almost feels less important for them. It's great to get them up to speed against some good opposition, but they already know what it's like. These players that don't, it's great to get them involved as early as possible, and he seems up for it, which inspires us.
I did, Tony, when I was watching his interview, I was, as Joe says, you don't want to be kind of patronising, but I was quite impressed with the way he came across, and I was looking at him going, we'll see what he's like as a goalkeeper, but certainly as a kind of personality, he seems like he's got it, and obviously a couple of years down the line, you'd hope he'd be even, more of a man.
I don't know about you guys, but every time I watch an interview with somebody like that, I just kind of get that. Remember that Rudo Clyde phone in guys? He's finished. No, he's not. He's
Anti-Niemi.
Anti-Niemi call. Yeah. And I just kept thinking he's only 22, and I was just laughing to myself. He's watched his interview, and it made me chuckle big time. But yeah, I think a lot of guys just, he's probably came in, didn't know what he's coming into, and just from the early, his early first interview, he's probably thought, wow, this is quite impressive. This is big. He's going to America where he will get game time. I think the manager will give him some game time. He'll want to look at him, and he's been with Exeter. He's had loan spells at Ayr United as well, but he hasn't featured for Aston Villa. But so this is a big step up for him. This is a chance, to say, right, I'm another big club. Aston Villa are a huge club as well. But, he'll have had the first impressions. He just looks as if he likes it, doesn't he? And I think, if anything, he will have listened to the likes of Joe Hart. He's got the chance now to work, assuming, we're all kind of very confident that Kasper Schmeichel will have come. It's an exciting time in his career. And at 22, that's been thrust upon you. And he came across, I think, as you all said, as a kind of old head on young shoulders. Because you can get rabbits in the headlight with stuff like this. You're thrust in front of cameras. Joe's been there with the Celtic media, and guys sometimes just they don't, not so much they don't know what to say, but they can be a wee bit overwhelmed by it all. But he seemed a very confident young man, and if he can play half as good as the way he talks, then I think, as Hazel said, you'll be on to a winner there. I don't think you can watch that save enough, Joe. That save against Scotland, as you say, it just gets better every time. Granted, it's one save, but I think this is a guy who'll relish the challenge, and I think he'll want to challenge Kasper Schmeichel all the way.
Yeah,
and just remind the manager. Yeah, that's what you want, But you want the two of them to be learning off each other, because even at 37 years of age, I'm sure there's still some things that Kasper Schmeichel can learn. And if he's got a guy beside him like that, pushing him and he's got the added attraction that he really admires a goalkeeper like Kasper Schmeichel. That's his hero. I think that all feeds in well for Celtic moving forward in the goalkeeping position. And again, we spoke about it yesterday. There seems to be some semblance of a decent plan there. Touch wood, it all comes to fruition. It all pans out the way we want it to. But yeah, I thought he spoke really, really well. And I think he'll just want to get out there, won't he, and get some game time in pre-season and experience it and see what it's like for himself.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, and I think you're right. I think we will get to see him. Paul just asking, is he? Gary Caldwell was his manager. Yeah, that was at Exeter, wasn't it, last season? I saw a video of him going around getting, acclaim from the Exeter fans, and Gary Caldwell having a joke with him. So I think those two had a good relationship. And it must be linked in some way to Celtic, because I know that Gary Caldwell's got links to the City football group. I'm sure he had a job at Man City a couple of years ago, so I'm sure there's some sort of thing there. That's kind of how we found out about him. Steve's saying that he talked in the Celtic TV interview about the project he was joining, so he knows the score. Very impressive, yeah, I'd agree. Villa fans didn't want him to leave. The Exeter fans love him. Exeter fans love him. They would have loved him back, but I think they all realised that he was going to kind of bigger and better things. The Villa fans, I don't know if you saw the tweet Villa put out. There was a number, I counted about 7 or 8 replies under that from Villa fans, very disappointed to lose him. They think he should be their number 2 this season, with a view of maybe taking over from Emi Martinez. A number of them hoping it was a loan and disappointed to find out that it's a permanent transfer. So we don't know too much yet, Joe, but the signs are that he's quite highly rated.
Yeah, and I saw that as well. A lot of fans kind of chiming in and expressing their disappointment. And it's interesting when you see it from the other side, isn't it? We've spoken about the likes of Rocco Vata leaving the club. The Daniel Kelly thing is up for debate at the minute in terms of what the future holds for him and some of the younger players who've left our club. And you start to get in a little bit of a cycle of disappointment if that's happening regularly. To see it happening with a big club like Villa and Celtic being on the end to benefit from that is interesting. I know that he didn't feature for Villa in the first team in the senior side, but I'd be interested. This is more just kind of speculative on my part. I know Aston Villa are a massive team. They've come off a fantastic season last year, but in terms of the stature of the club, I wonder how the player views it leaving Aston Villa to come to Celtic. In terms of global fan base, I would always say that Celtic are a bigger team, but in terms of facilities in the Premier League, to be pushing that high up the table last season, I wonder how the player feels about that, leaving behind a big club and coming to a big club, if there's any comparison there in his mind. And clearly, in terms of opportunity, he's chosen Celtic, so it bodes really well for the future.
Could obviously face them as well this season, guys. Tony, Champions League, Aston Villa are in it this year, so he could, if it was to work out in a funny way, and maybe Schmeichel isn't around for the game or for whatever reason, he could certainly come up against his old team.
There would be an irony in that, wouldn't there? And he'd probably love to face his old team, and I think Celtic would love a kind of, they would dub that a Battle of Britain, wouldn't they, against Aston Villa? So I think
I fancy that.
I would fancy that, to be fair. I think the Celtic supporters would fancy that big time. I just love games like that, and Celtic, historically, Celtic have got a decent record when it comes to playing English opposition in European competition. So it's, I think Celtic fans would relish that. I think Rodgers would relish that. And if he could play, Sinazalo would definitely fancy it, to be fair. And a kind of bullseye, let's see what you could have won style, he would definitely want to prove that point, wouldn't he? But no, good. I'm looking forward to seeing him. But it's interesting what Joe says there as well. Just that, because he could have hung around Aston Villa, waited for his chance. Joe, Celtic have picked him up for £1 million. I mean, that's good going for a 22-year-old goalkeeper who will be a number 1 in the near future, and hopefully it's at Celtic.
So just finally on him, Joe. Like what do you, obviously we're assuming very much that Kasper Schmeichel is going to come in. So what is the plan? For our new Finnish goalkeeper, is it going to be? Do you want to? Is he going to be number 2 for a start? Is Scott Bain now going to be number 3? Do you want to see him in the cup games? What do you want to see over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see more of him. I think that's as simple as that. And it's the more that you sit with it, the more you start to think about what he's left behind. Because if we talk about, and again, let's run in the assumption that Kasper Schmeichel is coming through the door. What can he learn from this great keeper who I've not actually read it myself, but apparently he was saying it, like we said yesterday, he admires him and it's one of his heroes. He's also not, Kasper Schmeichel hasn't signed at Celtic, so it's not definite. You know, that's not played into his decision to come here because obviously Kasper Schmeichel isn't through the door. What couldn't he get at Celtic that he couldn't have got at Villa under Emi Martinez? A fantastic goalkeeper if he's pushing for that number 2 spot. So clearly he sees something here. He's a young keeper. I know that it's not always a popular opinion, but the more that we look at modern football, and Matt O'Reilly said it as soon as he came through the door that this is where he wanted to be at that stage in his career. And it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of fans, who want players to play for the jersey and be here until they retire. It's not realistic in modern football. So where does this 22-year-old see himself in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, 5 years' time? Obviously, that's the deal that he signed. But yeah, he's chosen Celtic. He's chosen to leave Villa. He's chosen to come here. He's chosen to... I mean, I definitely want to see him as a number 2. As I said before a million times, I understand that Scott Bain is very well liked behind the scenes at Celtic, and I think he's got a massive part to play in terms of pushing the goalkeepers on the training pitch. I think that if he was going to be anywhere near the first team, that would be the case now. The fact that we've brought in a goalkeeper and we're looking to bring in another, it would suggest that Scott Bain is falling down the pecking order, certainly in terms of first team places. But equally, if Sinisalo is going to be number 2, he could have been number 2 down at Villa, pushing for the top end of the Premier League. So I think he himself will want to be pushing for that first team place as well. So yeah, I mean, pre-season to come in now to be playing DC United, to be playing Man City, to be playing Chelsea, a great chance for him to get some minutes there. And maybe it is the League Cup's the first one which rolls around. Maybe we see him there. Maybe it's the Scottish Cup. But yeah, who knows? I mean, I know that when Brendan Rodgers last season, he introduced Scott Bain for the cup ties and then ended up pushing him into the first team. He leaves and Neil Lennon takes Scott Bain right through until that treble victory. So, yeah, seeing him more in the first team, and that starts with pre-season is what I'm looking for.
Any thoughts, Tony, on Sinazola and his kind of immediate and medium-term plans?
I think he'll feature in the League Cup. I think the manager will want to keep him ticking over. And when Ange came in, he greased in for... I remember he played in the League Cup tie against Ross County, didn't he?
Motherwell as well, I think.
So, I think that's the plan. And because I think he will want him to push Kasper Schmeichel all the way and say to him, you'll be my cup goalkeeper, probably feature in the League and Scottish Cup possibly, but I think certainly the League Cup, because that's the first one that rolls around. And I would like to see him do that, because I want to see Sinisalo and what he brings to the table. And I want, you want to see a young goalkeeper progress, don't you? So the only way he's going to progress is by playing games and important games. So I'm all for, rotating when it comes to the League Cup, because Kasper Schmeichel is 37 as well. So we need to bear that in mind too. But there'll be plenty of games this season for him. Obviously, there's more Champions League games as well. He might even throw him in for one of them, just to give him that experience so that it's not new to him whenever he does assume the gloves at a later date. So I've got a feeling that will happen as well.
It's going to be interesting to look. I can't remember us ever signing a goalkeeper with a view to him becoming first choice or it being as clear as this. So it's going to be interesting to see. And Walker's saying, what happens if Kasper doesn't sign? See yourself out, Walker. We're no time for that kind of chat today. I think a few people saying, what's the hold up? He's a free agent. He is going to be coming in. The chat was he had a medical in Italy yesterday, so I think he'll be announced either today or tomorrow. It's going to happen, and then we can kind of tick off the goalkeeper stuff. Apparently, we played Burnley in a friendly last weekend, guys. Beat them 3-1. Closed door game. Odin Thiago Holmes scored. Mikey Johnson scored a double. Tony's he's silencing you for now.
Is he? He'll never silence me. I'm sorry. Yeah, good on him. I wish him all the best, but I just don't see the best in his future being at Celtic. I've said that for a while now. I'm not going to change. And closed door goals and closed door friendlies not a summer make. Is that what they say? Something like that.
That's what you say.
That's what I've said. I found it hard to say as well, Joe, but there you go. But yeah, I still feel if Celtic are chasing other wide targets and should be chasing other wide targets, and I believe his future will lie elsewhere, and I wish him well with that if that's the case.
Yeah. Henrik McLarsson thinks home will shine this season. He's made a decent enough start to pre-season, but as we spoke about yesterday, Brendan Rodgers wants to see more. He'll be part of the contingent that's now arrived in Washington DC. Joe, what are we expecting from this trip to the US, and what are you hoping to see over the 3 matches?
Just entertaining football, to see a bit more of some of the players. Like I said this yesterday, like this is where we'll probably start to see more of how the team is shaping up for next season. So I'm hoping to see some new faces join over there. Like we said, they're having the keeper in. Kasper Schmeichel equally, if assuming that he's had his medical and everything's fine and he gets over there. But yeah, I mean, I get that it's exhibition, it's friendly, it's a bit less stressful in its makeup, but yeah, we've been, no matter what team Man City field, it's still going to be a challenge for Celtic. I'd like to see them go for it. I'd like to see the manager starting to push us in the right direction, which we need as we head towards the start of the season. And then after that, it's go time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We've not got that long, really, Tony. I mean, we've got DC United on, I think it's Sunday, but it's really Saturday night for you guys. I think it's 12:30, so half an hour after midnight. That's going to be a test for us because they'll be in the middle of their season, won't they? So it'll be a tough match, bit of a step up. But the games after that, I mean, the thought of Erling Haaland going up against their defence is a little bit worrying, especially when he's had a summer up and will probably be itching to go. So that it's going to be a big test for us in this trip.
I just want us to ramp it up, as Joe says. Have a rip at it and really try and have an idea of your playing style and what way you're going to approach the domestic season. These are the games to do that, and hopefully we do have some new players, new blood in the squad. You'll be able to catch a glimpse of them as well. Hopefully we get as I said yesterday, they assemble the band back together, and Bernardo and Ida are in the door. Maybe they'll tease us again today with more cryptic nonsense.
What would it be today? What's a step up from the plane?
I don't know. I was just going to throw that open to the floor. What do you think? What's your step up?
I'm just curious to see if he ends up in Austria or Belgium, because you two are split on that, aren't you?
Yeah. He probably put a picture of a mountain range and say, where am I? You know what I mean? So, but so there you go. But indeed, no. Listen, I just want, the opposition's a step up in class. We get all that, but I wanted to see Celtic have a fair rip at all 3 games. I know DC United are through their season, but that's good. I think that's what Celtic want, and I think that's what the manager and the players need. And we just, if we can come through the kind of pre-season unbeaten, I'll be very chuffed at that, considering the opposition, and hopefully that certain players impress you as well, and and also you see a kind of a different style. You see a kind of a style that you can identify with and think, okay, that's the way we're going to play. Because I think that's what these games are for, and also people say it's for building up fitness, but there'll be a level of fitness there anyway because they're professional athletes. It is early in their kind of pre-season. I get all that, but you just want to see enough evidence to think come August the 4th, they'll be able to hit the ground running.
That's the hope. Just when we got that comment in there about Odin Thiago home, it just got me thinking, is there a player you guys are really excited to see this season and have high hopes for? Maybe hopes that he'll be better than last season? I'm kind of cheating. I'm looking at the squad at the moment, and kind of worryingly, there's not anyone obvious that jumps out that I think they're ready to really have a good season. And maybe Odin Thiago home is someone you'd look at. I'd have doubts whether he'll get enough game time. I reckon Alistair Johnson for me would be one. Congratulations to him and his partner on their engagement. He popped the question last night at Turnberry. So he's having a pretty good summer. But he'd be one that I think might... he's obviously been brilliant for us. He was great at the end of last season. But we're still to see a full season from Alistair Johnson. I think he might be a contender for Player of the Year this year if he can stay injury-free and really hit that top level in Europe. Is there anyone you guys kind of have a funny feeling might surprise people or have a great season this year?
I don't know if it'll be a surprise. Well, it will be a surprise for many, just in terms of how it's been. But I want to see more from Kuhn. And I know that he's, for a lot of people, maybe not good enough, or maybe flattered to deceive, or the jury's out at best. But I still think that I want to take him at his word that he, that he'd been through a lot, like we've spoken about his dental surgery, etc. And any time that I've been in front of him, that's what he keeps saying. So that is okay to a point, and you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but it needs to be proven on the pitch. Everybody understands that, not least the manager and the player himself. So for me, if we're looking, I'd love to see us bring in some support in wide areas. Listen, I understand where you come from, Tony, but if Mikey Johnson scores a hat-trick against Man City and he's absolutely electric on the wings, then I'm putting him back into the starting 11 in a flash. I don't really care as long as people are performing. And I think that is, I really like James Forrest, but he is proof that if you're doing it and you're consistent, you can get yourself back in the team. So I don't, for me, it doesn't really matter who's taking up those positions. But Kuhn has something to prove. Saw flashes of it in the last 4 months of the season. Still has a lot to prove for a lot of fans. So why not? That's the player that I want to see push himself to the next level. And if it doesn't work out, then we'll be looking elsewhere. But he's got something to prove.
I want to see what a revitalised Hatate will bring to the table.
Oh, I like it.
Missed out on Hatate a lot last season. Had a great first half in the Ibrox 3 each game, where everybody went, he's back, that's him, he's back, and kind of regressed after that, didn't he, in the games that followed towards the end of the season. But he missed a hell of a lot of football last season, Hatate, and I would like to think, and I hope, that he can recapture some of the form of old, because there's a definite talent there. But the manager says a lot of things, and what he did say with Hatate is he has to keep the ball. I've been banging on about that for a long, long time. His distribution is erratic at times. He's a talented player, and he has an eye for a pass, but the manager knows where he needs to improve, and I think that's distribution's big thing, and keeping hold of possession. And he has to do more of that to have that in his locker. But I think Hatate, lots of eyes will be on him. Can he recapture the form that made him, the subject of speculation and interest previously? Because I think it's a big season for Hatate as well. Because I think Hatate maybe had in his mind that this would be the summer that he would depart. But I don't think he's ready to depart Celtic at this moment in time in any shape or form. And he needs another cracking season with us before that speculation will be linking him with a kind of, I would say, a Matt O'Reilly type move. But I just don't think anybody is willing to shell out double figures and millions for Hatate just yet. Not saying that won't happen, because he's a talented footballer. He's very gifted, but he needs another cracking season at Celtic, a real kind of stand out and breakthrough season again. And he's well capable of it, but I'm just looking forward to see how he is after, because he missed a fair chunk of football last season, and bearing in mind he's a late entrant into first team football at this kind of level, then it'll be interesting to see how he copes with that, and hopefully he gets everything back in an even keel.
Because he was kind of like Matt O'Reilly probably a year or longer ago. He was the one people were looking at as going and breaking our transfer record. So
he was approaching that level, wasn't he, Joe?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess he'll probably be looking at it, and maybe a little bit of jealousy, maybe looking at Matt O'Reilly being the one everyone's talking about, the guy who's going to get the move. I don't think it's any secret Hatate would probably quite like to move on to a better league, But I think you're right, Tony. I think he's got work to do at Celtic because, correct me if I'm wrong, but there doesn't seem to be numerous teams, banging down the door to try and sign him. It's just that Russian team we've heard about, and Russia at the moment, football-wise isn't exactly the best league. There's no kind of European entry and all of that stuff. So I agree, and people are agreeing with you as well. Paul saying an injury-free Rio would be like a new signing. Scott agreeing with you, Joe, about Kuhn. CJ isn't convinced with Kuhn. Monty agrees that he's got a part to play. It is what it is, saying Iwata to get a decent run. I like Iwata. I just wonder if he'll ever be more than a bit part player at Celtic. I think he can be a very effective bit part player. I think we all quite like Iwata, don't we? Like what he brings to the team, and he doesn't really ever let you down. But I just wonder if he'll ever be a kind of consistent starter. John saying about Bosun Lawal. CJ talking about Bernardo as well. So there's a number of players there that we can kind of get excited about. Hopefully seeing him, maybe get a wee signing in as well. Johnny Kenny scored a double last night for Shamrock Rovers in the UEFA Champions League. He's there until the end of November, I think, Joe.
Yeah, I saw that. I also saw that Ben Quinn scored it's completely left me who he's out on loan at.
And he's not got a Wikipedia page, which is all good.
He scored a brilliant goal for this is professionalism at its best. The name I genuinely just completely slipped my mind. I couldn't find the actual footage of it. I just saw people talking about it on social media. I had a little look just before we jumped on. He's only 20 years old and obviously out on loan. So another. This is a sentence I wish I hadn't started now.
Mansfield, Joseph.
Mansfield, that's the one. That is the one.
How could you forget about Mansfield?
I know, for
dear,
goodness sake. But I just think it's good to see these guys going out on loan. My slight concern, I just have a general concern now about our young players going away and performing well, just because of the trend recently about just seeing guys hitting real potential and then us struggling to keep them. And I get the million and one reasons that they come into it. But when I see guys going out and doing well, it's brilliant for them and it's great to see. I'm just in a little bit of a lull with it personally. But yeah, all they can do when they go out there is perform. And yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah. The irony with Kenny is that he'd probably be going to the States if he was still with us, because we're so short on forwards at the moment. Just finally, Tony, because I know you love talking about Lewis Palma as well as Mikey Johnson. Hazel just bringing up Palma about a player that's could be a big one this season. I thought it was interesting up until that point. None of us mentioned Palma. No one apart from Hazel has mentioned Palma at all as being someone they think can turn good. It's interesting, isn't it?
I think he falls into the same boat with Joe's talking about with Kuhn. I think there's talent there. He can bring something to the table. His figures were good in terms of goals and assists. But again, he's another one I want more from. And I want him to be more of a team player. His goals and assists ratio would say he is a team player, but there were times when I thought he just decision making was my bugbear with him. And don't get me started again on his penalty kick.
We'll save that for a few months.
You know what I mean? I just thought his attitude at times was lacking, which I don't like to see in any professional at Celtic. And I still think the jury's out on him big time. And it's no surprise to me that the manager is looking at bringing in other wide players, because these guys will possibly have a rude awakening coming if they're not producing for Celtic under Brendan Rodgers. Talent, as he said, is not enough. You can play for teams, but you won't play in my team. I think that goes for the likes of Kuhn, Yang and Palmer. It certainly would be. I think that message wasn't just for those young two players there. I think it was for a wider, a wider collective in terms of the Celtic players. Those ones that are on the fringes, of the first team, have had valuable game minutes, but maybe not made the most of their opportunities when they've came along. So I include Yang and I include Palmer and I include Kuhn in all of that. I mean, I would persevere with them, just now, because new season, new start, clean slate, and all that, and you want to see what the benefit, if they do feel the benefits of a full pre-season, you'd want to see that evidence of that very early.
I think with Palma and Kuhn, we've seen glimpses from them. I mean, Palma, David bringing up his Champions League form, and that's the thing I'm clinging on to. He was very good in the Champions League. He scored 2 goals, should have had a third, that was disallowed against Lazio, but he still took that, and it would have been a goal, if you know what I mean. So, and Kuhn's shown moments as well. Yang, I'm less sure about. I've not seen much from Yang, if I'm honest, but I'd love to be proven wrong. But the wingers are a bit of a concern, Joe, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I wonder with Palma if, because we speak a lot about what the manager is able to do in terms of bringing out the best in players, and we saw, I don't think it's controversial that Palma's best form was in the opening stretch of the season. Then we have, some difficult times where we really need to, like you're saying, Tony, we need players that are rolling up their sleeves and really making the manager make decisions. And then, from November through to basically the end of the season, it was that siege mentality. We were relying on the people that could step up. So if Palma's got that scope to improve and get his focus right as a young player, maybe now things are settled again. We've managed to win the double and we're looking to improve on that this year. We've got the Champions League, we've got an exciting pre-season with the manager bringing that player in and under his wing and looking after him. Maybe it's almost like a fresh start for someone like Palma who has that underlying talent. That's me being idealistic, but I still feel that with the manager's scope for bringing on players, if you can harness that talent and get that focus right, he feels like one that could benefit from working under the manager, probably more than most. Like Kuhn's improvements feel like a personal thing, if you know what I mean. Like he's speaking honestly about how he's not been match fit. And once he gets match fit, he can prove to everyone else. Whereas Palma feels like he needs instruction. I could be wrong there, but that's my take on it.
I think I think Kuhn needs to kind of impact games more, but he's shown he can do that. I take your point about a fresh start for them. I don't know, maybe I'm just really negative about our wingers at the moment, but I just don't get the impression any of them are going to absolutely fly out the traps and have really changed. I think we might see the same kind of thing, and I think Brendan Rodgers doesn't trust any of them, and that's why he's probably looking to bring players in.
I think that's the biggest thing here, Hamish. It's an issue of trust. And once you earn the manager's trust, you are quids in, but he's hardly spoken about any of the wingers in glowing terms since he came to the club, apart from James Forrest.
Yeah.
Funnily enough. Yeah. And he did that for a reason. He, even at 31, he's now 32, Forrest, isn't he? But he challenged all those wingers last season by saying he's the best winger at the club. And he's 32. What are you guys going to do about it? I'm playing him down the stretch. I tried and tested, and he could trust him big time. And none of them really challenged him down the stretch, did they? Forrest came in and became a permanent fixture in that, you would say, the home stretch. And Brendan Rodgers was more or less saying, this guy's putting you to shame. This guy's
Maida was great as well, obviously.
Yeah. I'm not including Maida in that, but he was saying, look at this guy. He's 32. He's shown you how to do it. I should be able to turn to any of you at any particular time and say, replicate what he's doing, but I can't because I don't trust you. So what are you going to show me? You need to show me more. And I think the headlines you're reading past couple of days about Michel Ange from Royal Antwerp, that tells you where Brendan Rodgers' mindset's at. He's got a tried and tested winger in Maida, who he likes for his work ethic, his defensive qualities, and that kind of Forrest Gump box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get with them, but you're going to get a faultless team performance and selfless performance every time. Wing play, it's up in the air, isn't it? It can be all over the place. We can still provide assists and he can still score. But the others, you can't say that with any clarity. Palma, as you say, Joe, had good start. I just feel could be wrong, but he seemed to. I think in his head he'd hit a wee comfort zone very early, and just relaxed on it, and just thought, but we need more. And I say that affected his decision making. It became at times it became about him. He became a frustrating figure for a lot of Celtic supporters because he is capable. He's got that great shot on him, hasn't he? Without much backlift, and he can score goals from distance. And and you thought there's things there. There's a nub of a player there, but up there you need to get it right up there. You need to listen. And I agree with Joe. I think he's a confidence player, isn't he? So I think the manager would have to constantly remind him of how important he could be to the team and what he can provide if he's right up here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, looking forward. I hope they prove me wrong. One of Kuhn, Yang, who's the other one? Palma. Obviously get Mikey Johnson you could add to that as well. Marco Tilio was one, and I'm just not convinced there's a first team Celtic player there at all. I think Kuhn's the one I would have the highest hopes for, but he needs to impact games more because the Scottish Cup final performance when he came on was a shambles. Anyway, Monty's just suggested we go for Todd Cantwell, so I think that's probably the end of the stream at this stage, guys. Thanks for that, Monty. I'm assuming you're joking, Monty. Please tell me you're joking. Right, okay, guys, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thanks everyone for tuning in, commenting, etc. Been another busy one, and we'll be back tomorrow to do it all again.